my name is Emily Hubert and I am a class teacher and the communication team leader at the King's Cross Academy in Camden. We are a CLP associate school and have been ever since I joined the school 4 years ago now. I love reading and writing, and as a child I devoured books and I used to write all my own stories, and I did a Masters in Children's Literature in 2020, which involved me using some of the research that CLP had done into their Reflecting Realities research, and I did some research kind of around that with my own class. So we've used Power of Reading at King's Cross Academy since we opened in 2015, and we can really see at the Academy the impact that has had on our children's their outcomes in terms of their reading and writing ability, but also on their love of reading. So the gaps that we feel the Power of Reading training has really filled in our school are in particular around staff subject knowledge of texts. We've all had access to such a broad range of texts thanks to the Power of Reading, and in particular the range of genres that you have access to when you're doing Power of Reading is incredible. Not all children like to read fiction, and what's wonderful about Power of Reading is that you always make sure that you do myths, you do traditional tales, you do poetry, you do fiction, non-fiction, and that in turn then turns them into children who like to read and want to read because they feel that their literacy curriculum has something for them, but also they then want to write. And because the Power of Reading has such a wide range of genres in terms of the texts, it then means that we also have really wonderful writing outcomes and a really broad, diverse range of writing. And again, in terms of the gaps that the training has filled for our teaching staff, it's also given them lots of different ways of teaching literacy. So obviously through Power of Reading you learn things like roll on the wall, we have kind of the like-dislikes, questions connections grid. There's all sorts of really creative approaches to teaching literacy. The Power of Reading training is incredibly hands-on. It's obviously research informed and kind of research based, but you kind of turn up to one of these days and it's so hands-on. We're always getting up and sort of moving around the lovely CLP library and working together in different groups. And also doing the activities that children will do. I think that's really kind of at the core of the Power of Reading training, is that when you sort of go on these days at CLPE, you will be doing the activities that you will do with your children, so you understand what they are like from the perspective of a child. Our children love their literacy lessons. They love the characters that they learn about. We had one child last year in Year 6 who, I've never seen him read a book, read sort of a novel outside of our literacy lessons, but we read both Goodnight Mr. Tom and Running on Empty, which is a fantastic book for Year 6 children. And we read both of those in our literacy lessons, and he got his gran to go out and buy both of those books so that he could read them at home. In terms of kind of outcomes and data, this year we had our first end of Key Stage 2 SATs results as a school, and we were really lucky to report that we had 50% of children achieve greater depth in reading, which is an amazing piece of data, an amazing kind of result for us. And that is the Power of Reading, and our work in our literacy curriculum has played a huge part of that. And in terms of the children's writing, we had recently had a writing moderation from the local authority, and both of the moderators reported how it was so clear through the writing that they saw that the children really enjoyed their literacy curriculum, but also that they had been able to develop their own creativity through it. I would recommend CLPE and the Power of Reading training to anyone who wants to hear about it, because research informs. CLPE are constantly kind of revising and looking at the texts they use, but also their teaching sequences and updating them, and always making sure that they are responding to current research and to current policy as well. What's fantastic about the training, in particular the Power of Reading training days, is that you are always working with ex-teachers or ex-head teachers and people who have been in the classroom, so who understand the pressures of classroom teaching, and how sometimes we feel like in sort of in primary teaching that there's not time for the kind of creative fun stuff, because we're always having to focus on outcomes and kind of getting children to reach a certain level. And actually what's really fantastic about doing the power of reading training is that you see that you can do all the creative fun stuff, and actually it's only by doing the creative and interesting stuff that you can get learners and children who really want to engage in their literacy curriculum.